how did you get your clients? Because you did painting for so long, really, before you became licensed as an agent. But how did you get your clients to see the identity switch that you were the trusted advisor when it came to helping them buy, sell, or invest in real estate versus, oh, this is more of a side gig for Ryan?
Yep. That is a brilliant question, John, because I had to overcome the stigma that was attached to me as the painter and massage guy. I was well known in my massage business as well, to like, okay, why would I trust you to sell my house?
Yeah.
I've known you in this genre, in this trade for so long. And that was the beauty of my transition, was as I started doing business and posting our success just casually on Facebook, saying, here's my new buyer, congrats to this buyer, and just building that momentum and showing that, I became known as, like, when I would see someone in public run into the store or at church and they're like, man, you are crushing it, aren't you? And inside I was like, not crushing it, but I'll agree with them and say, yeah, we're crushing it. Yeah, I want to build that credibility. So it was that was a very tenuous issue that I had to contend with, was being known as something else. And now, how do I become that trusted advisor in real estate? Was just to start doing it and working really hard and be, putting good content out that shows that I'm keeping up on the trends in the market. So, it worked. I'm doing very well now, and everyone recognizes me more in real estate than painting. I get people to call now and they're like, are you still painting? I see you're doing a lot in real estate.
Hey, executed the plan, right?
Absolutely.
You did fine. It's interesting. You mentioned posting about it, and when I talk to agents, I think in our business, the best thing that someone could do would be more of an apprenticeship style. Getting into real estate, because you can leverage doing real estate activities for someone else as a way for you to post that you're in the world of being a realtor, right? That you're actually doing the business. I think the other way, just because we're on the topic, for people that are transitioning into real estate, is you got to understand the market. You got to take time and educate yourself on what's happening. What neighborhoods and zip codes are hot. Why are they hot? What's going on? Why is this house sitting so long, right? And truly study everything that's going on.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think people need to be realistic about what it takes to get into the business. So I'm very candid with agents when they say, hey, what if I joined your team and got licensed? Well, what are you prepared to put in?
Yeah.
You don't just quit your day job and then go into real estate and start making money, and I'll tell you, this is something that just hit me that I would like to share in this podcast, that it was such a huge turnabout for me. So how do we justify our commissions?
Mm-hmm.
That's a
So
huge.
I think it's one of the hardest questions for an agent to answer.
I've got a good one, because it's like something that it was born out of this revelation to me. It was born out of serving a client for about 100 hours worth of time that they decided not to buy. They got buyer fatigue, and they weren't getting any of the offers, and I was trying to push them and coach them and say, this is the market, and they just never got a house. So I have 100 hours in them and nothing to show for that time. I've
Yeah.
done one showing, one and done, on a $500,000 house, and I got a great commission from that.
Yeah.
So I find it's the law of averages in our business, and to get to the closing table is the miracle. It's the prize, and we work really hard on both sides of the transaction. Once you get into contract, if it falls out at the 11th hour, you don't get paid. And so trying to convey that to people, like, we're internet lead heavy, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about that in a little bit, but you get people that just want to see a house. They don't care about me. They just you're my ticket to get in to see this house. That's my job. That's my time. That's what if you don't use me, and we close on this, but we have to be tactful. We can't use guilt and shame them and try to make it seem like you're stealing my time, but they really are. So how do you tactfully navigate that with a client, especially new, like an internet lead that
Yeah.
you're trying to build rapport with, and convey that my value is in, yeah, I might make a ton of money off you if you pick the first house and we close, that's great. But what if you don't? What if I work for you for 100 hours and I have nothing to show for it?
Yeah.
So that was my justification, because before I became a realtor, I had the misconception of realtors are way overpaid and they just show houses. They walk in and turn a key and say, here you go. And then they sit back in their fancy car and, go to the next house. And it's not that. I ground and pound, and I love it. I picked this job, but I think the biggest thing is educating people on what goes into it. If they want to be an agent, this is what you're going to have to be prepared to do. Be realistic. If you're a buyer or seller, here's what we do that supports our value. And
Yeah.
once people understand that, then I think that kind of bridges the gap between the misconception of value.
I think it's also too, and I think sometimes in our industry we're afraid to have conversations about that because the consumer believes that we are overvalued, that we're overpaid, right? But the reality is as simple as this. They come to us because they need to solve a problem, and we are the one to get them the result. Now, everyone can then determine what that means to them as an individual, right? To some people, they would gladly pay whatever percent you would put in front of them. Some individuals, they were like, no way, not worth it, right? And I think as agents, you get to decide, and this is, and you've been around me and you've heard me talk about this. And, as an agent, it should be I get to decide who I do business with, not the client deciding if they do business with me. And because of our industry and because of the amount of agents in it and because of the low transaction count that agents do on a yearly basis, a lot of times it is client driven decisions. We feel like we have to work with everyone. And sometimes we don't get paid what we put in. And other times we get paid for maybe a little bit of work. But it still comes down to, my wife reminded me of this, it still comes down to you accomplished the goal that they were wanting you to accomplish. And, I take it as that, right? Like, you go to the doctor, their goal is to get you healthy. You pay whatever they say. You don't negotiate. I mean, have you ever negotiated with your doctor? No. Like, the bill comes 2-3 weeks later, right? And like you're like, oh shit, like that sucks, but okay, well, glad I'm feeling better, right?
Yeah.
So I think, as agents, you have to continue to work and to build relationships and to go and help people and serve people and, ultimately get to the point where you're in your career and in your business to where you get to make more decisions than the clients are making for you.
Yeah.